Can you hear me, guys? All right. We had some technical difficulties. I'm like, oh wow, what happened? But we are here. It is talk therapy. Our intro did not come up tonight. I don't know why, but it did not come up. But it's okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host, Tara T. Stallings, and I have my co-host.
Melody Manning. How y'all doing this evening?
Yes, we are excited tonight. Tonight, guys, we have a great topic. We're talking about self-talk, self-care, a kind of continuation on colorism that we talked about last week. Um, we our aim is to discuss real issues and give real solutions to the problems. Our topics are always real, raw, and relevant. Make sure if you just tuning in to like and share and like, because this is going to be a hot topic. We encourage you guys. We encourage you to ask questions. We encourage you to ask questions so that we can address them, talk to you, and get feedback from you. So Melody. Oh my gosh, my mouth is all twisted up tonight. Let's get started.
Okay. Just one moment, Tara. I'm sorry. I'm trying to catch up here on
So last week we talked about our topic. We talked about colorism, and colorism in our families, and we also talked about colorism in our community, and just addressing what that is. Just addressing what that is. And we had so many people to reach out to share, from hair to skin color to issues that stem around colorism in their jobs, in their workplace, in their personal ideologies, in their thinking. So today we want to continue that and just talk about self-talk and self-care and exactly what that is. Self-talk and self-care is just this. We all have conversations with we all have conversations with ourselves. Those conversations can be empowering, they can be impactful, but those conversations can always also be destructive to your mentality, to your emotions, to your psyche, to your relationship, to your belief systems and values, and also to your success. A lot of times now we hear the hype on self-care, self-care, self-care. And we go and get our nails done, we buy new purse, we take a bubble bath, and we say, "Oh, I'm doing self-care." But we know that self-care is more than just the external things. So let's talk about exactly that self-talk and that self-care. Is it real? Are you really talking yourself into success, or are you talking yourself into destruction? The self-care that you're talking that you're saying that you're dealing with, you're going on vacation, whatever, buying purses, shoes, bubble baths. Is it really self-care, or is it just a band-aid for what really needs to be addressed? Melody.
and well, we briefly talked about it, and what brought about this topic is some of the things that were said when we talked about colorism, um, and a lot of it plays into the self-talk we have with ourselves. Because in order to have proper self care, as you said, is more than taking, that bubble bath or that long shower or going on vacation. That self care also involves how we talk with us to ourselves.
Mhm.
Our self love also is included in that. So one of the main things that we want to hit on is actually, what are you saying to yourself? And when I say, what are you saying to yourself, what are those thoughts that are floating around in your head about yourself? Um, we had a young lady that asked the question about her hair on last week, and and a lot of that is external, external um, external things that are coming from the outside as to why she have those thoughts that she may be a little hesitant about, changing her hairstyle or not. And we as women, we are bombarded with a lot of different images. We see a lot of stuff on television, magazines, and we may not actually fit into that. We heard a lot of things when we were children, maybe from our parents, our cousins, classmates, or whatnot. Because kids can be cruel, and we still harbor that on the inside of it. So our self-talk is based around that. And then also, you may have a partner that may have said some things that make you kind of doubt yourself. So we want to touch on it. Basically, genuinely being yourself, walking in your authentic self, and being confident in just who you are. Be it if you're a larger woman, if you're a smaller woman, if you have natural hair, or if you're wearing your hair straight, a wig, relaxed, or whatnot. Sometimes, what are you saying to yourself? Are you truly comfortable in just being who you are? And that can bring about proper self care, because you could take a long bubble bath any day of the week and still get out the tub with the same issues you went in the tub with. You're not really, washing those away. It begins with what you're saying, because a lot of times we can tell ourselves, I'm not pretty enough. Mainly, and it's outside, they're not going to like me if I do this, or I need to change this so I can be acceptable to other people. I feel that whenever you're talking to yourself and we're making changes, such as far as our appearance or what, it has to be something that we're truly comfortable in. So you can't have that little voice in the back of your head saying, they probably not gonna like this. But when you look in the mirror, you love what you see. So you can't base it on the outside world and what the outside world says, you know, that is going on.
And I would even say, I know you said in relationships, but let's take it even back down to family, because a lot of times things that are said in relationships are because things were said within the family, within the formative years, the growth stages in life, our younger years, their younger years, that molded people and gave them certain mentalities, certain ideologies and ideas about themselves that were wrong because of what somebody else. And a lot of times people got those ideologies and ideas because of a family member um, was taught wrong and said things in error or said things in ignorance, and it helps shape and mold the person's thought patterns and belief system about themselves. And now, when they get in friendships, when they get in intimate relationships, work relationships, they bring all those mentalities, those beliefs into it. So when it comes to hair, when it comes to skin color, when it comes to the way that they look, even when it comes to the spirituality, their relationship with God, their spiritual selves, it's it's been fragmented because the foundation has been shaken during the formative years, during those stages of life. So we need to just even go back and reevaluate um, those thoughts, because when we talk about self-talk doesn't just start with a bad relationship. It doesn't start with, well, a bad someone said something at the job or a friend. Self-talk is built upon belief system as a youth, as a child. And what do you believe about yourself? For instance, last week we talked about colorism. Oh, you nappy headed, you what would in African American culture, you black, you got big lips, um, you skinny, you look like a what we were saying, you didn't have, if you wasn't shapely or hippie, oh, you got a pancake, you shaped like a white girl or a white boy or something. And those things were damaging to a child, because especially a female, because we tend to compare ourselves with other women and other images of women, or what has been deemed as acceptable in society. And that's what starts those self conversations that can be destructive, because of the beliefs that the person built on from the conversations or the sentences that people said to them as children.
And that's so true. And that all self-talk and your self-care can lead back to having to deal with some of those issues that you may have, that you may have not even realized was trauma at first, from the conversations and the things that were said. Because what a lot of people don't realize too, and let's be honest, as women, when we are deciding on what our look is going to be, or how we're going to style our hair, we're not doing it for men. Most of the time, we're doing it for other women. If the man like it, that's good. But most of the time, we're actually doing it for other women because you're seeking that approval from them. You want to fit in with them. You don't want to stand out. So, a good bit of the time, again, it's for other women. You want other women to compliment you on your look, or, your shape. And it can cause you to do some things because we are constantly comparing ourselves to other women. We're not comparing ourselves to men, we're comparing ourselves to other women. So even with our self-care and our self-talk, we have to also be careful as women how we talk to other women, or the things we say to them, because it could be very, very damaging, coming from another woman when it's someone you're basically always comparing yourself with. And that's why our grandparents, our mothers, they played a big role in it. And of course, like I said earlier, you had your classmates and stuff, but those they played a big role in shaping us too. And with that self-talk, we have to be, we really got to get to a place where we can look at ourselves and say, you know what, I like this. It doesn't matter if Carol likes this, or Jenny, Jane, or whoever, LaQuisha, or whoever. Like, I'm comfortable with this. I'm okay with me in the way that I am. So that plays a part. Reaffirming yourself that you are enough, because that too also comes into play, because all of it can lead to lower self-esteem if you don't have, you know, that proper level of self-talk, because you're so busy comparing yourself to, you just feel like I don't measure up, I don't fit in, and instead of taking your self-esteem down.
And let's talk about self-esteem, because so many women have a misconception when it comes to self-talk, appearances, what self-esteem, low self-esteem is. And I see people all the time, and I say, oh, you know what? Especially if they're a big girl, oh, she has good self-esteem. She's this and she's that. She's always dressed to the nines. She's always, put together. She's always this, and people equate that as having a high or good self-esteem, and that's not always the case. A
No,
lot
because
of times, yeah, because a lot of times people dress up, they dress up those low self-esteem, depressive feelings, because they want to camouflage and put on the front that I'm okay, especially in the African American community. And I would also say, especially in those people in the church system, we have been taught to camouflage everything that's going on. As long as you got a new dress on, some new shoes, a new hat, your hair done, and your makeup done, oh, you always have it together. Not realizing that that person is dealing with that destructive self-talk from when they were a child, when their friend said something, when their coworker said something, when they tell themselves, hey, I'm fat. Hey, I'm not good enough. I got to do this because I got to make myself look better than so-and-so because I'm not adequate as them. I'm not as educated as them. I'm not as smart as them. I don't know, certain things like other people do.
True. And self-esteem is just like, anything else. We can put a mask on real quick. And I'm glad you did say that, because we do have instances where people look at women, and these are things that I've heard people say, oh, she got it all together.
Yes.
No, sometimes you don't know what she's doing at home by herself. She may be crying because even though you may think she has it all together, she may truly feel like she does not have it all together. So it's easy for us to put on those masks and cover up stuff and not show people our authentic selves. So
Yes.
though, you have to be careful with that. And and that is something that we can control individually. We have to take the power away from outside forces to let us know, if we are enough, if we're good enough, if we're pretty enough, you know, we've got to take that power away from the outside forces, because if we leave it in the outside forces' hands, we'll forever be up and down. You know, we'll forever be up and down because it's hard to fit in. Because one, like I said, we're bombarded with so many different um, images, that can make us feel like, well, you know what? I don't look like that. I don't have a big butt. I don't have a small waist. I don't have the thin nose. I don't have the what you're seeing in media, what you're seeing in magazine. So you'll always be up and down. So we have to get comfortable with ourselves. And I think the best way sometimes to do that is if you are a woman, just strip down, stand in front of a full length mirror and just look at yourself and think about what it is, why you appreciate every lump, curve, bump, you know what I'm saying? Big nose, big eyes, big lips, long hair, short hair, why you wearing weave or whatnot. Really discover every part of yourself. And sometimes we do just have to get naked and stand before ourselves and look at ourselves. Because there are a lot of women that can't even stand to look at themselves in the mirror. And that's sad.
Yes, and even with that, I would add to how you guys. Yes, men do have suffer with the same issues that women do. I just see some of the questions that are coming on. Men do suffer with that, and I would also say, because a lot of times you and I being life coaches and counselors, a lot of times just telling people, because we have heard throughout life many people, especially if you come out the church system, you are beautiful, you are wonderfully made, God's creation. We get all those scriptures and it sounds good. Or your parent or somebody, oh, you're beautiful. You just need to tell yourself, um, to encourage yourself. You need to do affirmations, because I've told people that, write those things down. But what I've learned is this: even stripping naked physically, you have to strip naked emotionally. You have to strip naked emotionally and ask yourself, where did this thinking come from? Why do I have this belief system about myself? Because we've learned to lie to ourselves. Because we are used to wearing masks all the time. We have also learned to mask, saying, "Oh, I love myself. Oh, I love myself." So we'll tell lies in front of people. Oh, I don't have low self-esteem. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I know I'm wonderfully, beautifully and wonderfully made. We'll say all those things in public around certain people, but internally, psychologically, we don't believe it. They don't believe it. So even with stripping naked and telling ourselves, or going through those affirmations and finding the great things about you, if you hadn't got to the point where you can say, well, where did this come from? Why do I think this way? And get naked emotionally as along with physically, we have to understand that if we don't believe it, we'll continue to tell ourselves that, like, we'll get in front of that mirror and say, oh, I love this, or I'm stripped down emotionally in the mirror. I'm great. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And because a lot of people are used to telling themselves lies, they have become masters, deceivers for themselves. They are the enemy of themselves. They will tell themselves those things, but still not believe it. And then there is no change. So we have to strip down to the point where did this come from? Why do I believe this? Why do I have this conversation about, oh, this looks horrible, or oh, my hair is nappy, or oh, my nose is big, oh, I'm too dark, oh, I have freckles, oh, I'm not smart. Where did that come from? And once we understand where it come from, and then say, you know what? Because we put everything to the extreme. I'm the ugliest person in the world. I'm the dumbest person in the world. I have the nappiest hair in the world. I mean, out of all these billions and billions of people, you really? And that's a lie. So we have to analyze even the words that we say or have been saying to ourselves with those conversations and that self-talk before we can even strip down and say, hey, what's good? What's great about me? Not what's good about me, but what's great about how I look? What's great about my intellect? What's great about my beliefs? What's great about how I do this or how I do that? Because if we don't believe it, it's going to be another lie, and it's going to show up somewhere else in our life.
And that's true. That's really true. If we don't deal with it, and that's the mental side of it. That's that trauma side that we were speaking of. Because most of the times when we have something in our belief system, it's something that has been said to us, and we took it basically as gospel, you know, with that. So when we strip down physically and emotionally, and it, to me, when you're standing there and you're looking in that mirror, you have to ask yourself, who told you your nose was too big? Who told you that roll you got right there is not, happening or whatnot? Who told you your butt wasn't big enough? Because one thing I found, and I'm a big girl, is you got men out here that like big girls. I don't know who came out with this whole thought that, big girls, you ain't gonna get no man. I can't stand when I see that, on Facebook and whatnot. And they're acting like because a man with a big girl is such a special thing. Well, we women too. You know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna celebrate us, just celebrate, us. That's why you've got to be comfortable in who you are. Because then that leads to why we see so many people getting butt implants, breast enlarged. Now, nothing wrong with that. Because if I could, I would have a little bit of body work done. But it's for Melody. but but some are doing it for the wrong reasons. Because let me say this also. If the doctor say, you know what, Melody, it's not healthy for you to do this, you don't really need to do this, I'm going to go somewhere and sit down. But you have some people that are so determined to do those things because they feel like they need that in their lives. And it could be detrimental. So the main thing is why what makes you think having a big butt and small waist is a necessity now? And we find that in a lot of, well, I won't even say just younger women. You find that a lot in women. They gotta, you want to change some. I'm constantly always joking with Tara. Oh, I need to get this done. But Tara, do you see that? Do you see that right there? But anything I know that I would like to change is for Melanie, because all of it boils down to is, what are you going to do if you don't like something about yourself? What are you going to do to make that change? Because you have that power. Do you need to diet more? Some people want to gain weight. Do you need to change the way you eat to gain weight? You have control over it. Don't let some of those things control you. You control them. Stop giving your power to things that shouldn't have our power. They can basically just hinder us and keep us stuck and in a bad place, that we're not actually thriving and living because we're so focused on stuff that we shouldn't be focused on. Because you have so many people that, you know, I I can't get in the water because I don't even want to put on a bathing suit. And a lot of places that you go to require you to actually have on a bathing suit. You can't do the shorts and a t-shirt. But they won't even get to experience something that they may enjoy because they're just too worried about what the outside does. A lot of it is standing up for who you are, owning who you are. Because a lot of us don't own who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And
and
why
we
is
don't want to deal with that.
and I think we need to go back to this that same question because people don't own who they are. I think it goes back to that destructive self-talk. Because if you're not happy with who you are and owning who you are, good, bad, or indifferent, then something had to fragment your cognitive belief system, either as a child or through young adulthood, or some traumatic incident had to happen to make you have those destructive conversations, thoughts, or beliefs about yourself. It's not always just looking at someone else. Because if you don't know, and we know this, if a child hasn't, if you have, and I'm just going to use this example, black and white. If you have a black child and a white child, and they never know that they're different, they just know they're friends, they won't know that, oh, well, you might not need to hang with them, or you may not need to deal with them because you know they're black, because they might be a little prejudice, or white people and black people are different. Until they're taught, or until they're suggested something, you don't know when you're growing up that that your behind is flat. You know what I'm saying? You don't know that. You don't know that and there's nothing wrong with that. Let me put it that way. Until somebody says something derogatory to you about your body shape, that's when you start comparing. Oh, well, wait a minute. I don't look like this girl, this girl, this girl. Well, you don't look like anybody. You might have be similar to them, but you don't look like anybody. If your breasts are size A or size double, triple D, you don't know the difference until somebody says, "Oh, you have big breasts," or "Oh, you have no breasts." Then you start comparing. Well, is there something wrong with me? You don't know that your nose is big until somebody tells you, "Oh, you got a big old nose on your face." And it's the way that they say it, and then you start questioning or comparing. Well, is something wrong with my nose? I see their nose is not big, and their nose is not big, and their nose is shaped this way. And then we start comparing ourselves to everybody around us instead of taking the time and said, "Who told you that?" And I'm gonna share a quick story. I was in middle school. I never forget. The young lady is deceased now. I was at Langford Middle School, and I never forget. And I used to love, and I wear them now because I got over that. Love wearing open-toe sandals. You know, the sandals with open toe. All your toes out in the summertime, the jellies and all of that. I love wearing those things. Well, kids can be cruel. They can be cruel. Well, my second toe is much longer than my first toe, than my big toe. You know, they look like they look like fingers. Well, I never knew that until my friends start picking on me about my toes, saying, "Oh, you have fingers on your feet. Your toes look like fingers," and they were laughing and joking. I never knew that it was anything wrong with my feet. So of course, when they start laughing and joking with me, it didn't feel good. So for years, I stopped wearing shoes that showed my toes. For years, I think I was an adult when I started back wearing shoes that exposed. Maybe my last few years in high school, that I started wearing shoes where you could see my toes. And the only reason I did that because I love wearing shoes. I wear flip flops all the time, Melody. And I say to myself now, I have been not wearing these certain type of shoes because somebody told me it was something wrong with my toes. Now, and this is the conversation, that self talk that I had to have with myself. Well, it's nothing that I can do to change my toes. They're my toes. I was born that way. I can't make them. I can't cut them off. I can't do anything about them. So am I gonna allow what somebody else told me that something's wrong with my toes to stop me from wearing certain shoes because you said something was wrong with them? And this is a conversation that I really had with myself. I said, well, who said that it was my toes that was wrong? Because your toes might be messed up. Your toes might be not right, and mine might be right. So I had to have that conversation to convince myself, basically, that it's nothing wrong with my feet. I'm gonna wear these shoes, and it's something wrong with them. Because I never saw, and this is true. This is the conversation I had. I never saw a book that said your toes supposed to be a certain way. So since I never saw that your toes supposed to be a certain way, who said there's something wrong with my toes? There might be something wrong with your toes. Now that was just my mindset, but it helped me to get over it. Now, of course, I didn't know what I know now, but that was self-talk. I used that same self-talk to be destructive for me. It caused me not to live my reality, my truth, because I was afraid, oh, something's wrong with my toes. But when kind of the light bulb went off, and I was like, well, I really want to wear these shoes, and I can't wear them because they told me it was something wrong with my toes. What can I do about it? So I had to change that myself with that self-talk. But so many people, now that's me, that's my personality. I have a very rare personality. Everybody can't do that. It's not as easy for them to do that because they want to fit in, because they have been ostracized so many years mentally and with words from people that they deem important in their life, that they have been imprisoned by their thoughts.
And that's exactly why I say a lot of people are not living and thriving because they're caught in that cycle of fear where they're scared they're not going to fit in and it's they're different or whatnot. So we really, let me say this, when with the self-talk, we need to explain some, let's put it out there what self-talk is.
Yes.
Because I don't think a lot of people understand the power of self-talk and the power in our words. we have to change our whole language, not just with ourselves, but the way we talk to other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because when I said earlier, women, when we do things, we're mainly doing it for other women. We're not doing it so much for men. Yeah, it's for the men, but it's mainly for women. Because there's a difference when a woman says, you know what, hey, I like that dress you got on. I like the way your hair looks. It's a different feeling than when that man says, oh, you look really nice. We like that. We are doing some things for him, but mainly, if we're honest, it's for other women. We want that oh, you notice me, look from other women. So with that, when we are referring to self-talk, you have to constantly be telling yourself, oh, okay, I'm okay. Y'all don't really want to know my self-talk sometimes. you know, I can get in a mirror and my ego can, it can go there. And honestly, I may not be the prettiest, I may not be the finest. Well, whose definition of that, is actually correct? But to me, I'm good with melody,
Right.
So you have to pump yourself up and say, you know what? I look good today. I love my hair like this. I like my hairstyle like this. I like my makeup like this. Oh, I really like this red lipstick on myself. Honey, these clothes look good on me. Those are some of the, the phrases and affirmations you have to tell yourself. Because we find it easy. We can compliment other women sometimes, but we can't compliment ourselves. Because I can walk past the mirror after I get dressed to go somewhere, and I'll be like, "Dang, girl, you really got it going on today." And,
That's right.
and when I get out, I can walk in a room and be like, "Oh, you the baddest thing in here," and may not be the baddest thing in there by somebody's definition, but you can't tell me I'm not the baddest thing in
That's
there.
right.
You have to have that type of confidence when it comes to yourself. And I'm gonna venture a little further, Tar, because we don't have that conversation with ourselves and that confidence with ourselves is blocking a lot of relationships with our sisters.
Yes. Yes. Yes, definitely.
It can be blocking a lot of us from having relationships with some women that we actually should have. You know, we looking at, we comparing, because then that thing called jealousy creeps in and whatnot. And some of these people we jealous of and stuff, or we ought to have relationships because you may just learn something.
I
Because
wish you would say that again because especially in the women of color, we have a major issue with other women of color. Where we with our assumptions, we can look at a person and say, "Oh, they look mean, or they look like they up it, or they look bougie." What does that mean? Or I know that this is one of the favorites. Oh, I know that type of woman. How can you look at a person that you don't know and say, "Oh, I know that type of woman," because you don't know that person. Because people say and do things, you don't know what happened 10 or 15 minutes before you saw them. You don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know the situation. You can't base a person on a look. And I say you can't base a person on one conversation because you don't what we call the backstory. You don't know what has gone on or what is going on with that person. So, but we are quick as women to look at somebody and say, mm-mm. And I always got a story. It bothers me when people say it's just, how we say, it's just something about them that just ain't right. I don't know what it is, but it's something about that person, it ain't right. And when it's just some ain't sitting right in my spirit about this. It may not be that person, that spirit that's wrong. It may be yours.
yeah,
It may just be yours. If something's not right, you don't know this person. What's not right may be that what you see in them is in you. what you see that you don't dislike, that you don't know exactly what it is. It may be in you, and you just may be jealous because they remind you of a situation, of a person that may have done something or said something to you in the past. And it's not fair to judge that person on your past experiences or your past hurt without giving them a chance.
And sometimes, and in those instances, women, you they can see something in that person that they want so bad for themselves, but they're fearful to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of maybe having that conversation, they they're really mad with themselves because they're not able to do it. And that can go further than looks. That could basically be how you're living your life or whatnot. Women tend, because we're emotional, that's the way we were designed. We get in that emotion and be like, oh, she ain't about nothing, but she really doing everything that you want to do. You
Mm-hmm.
just don't have that umph to get up and go do it. So you're not really mad with her, you're mad with yourself, but you're reflecting it on her. So we really got to get better with that as Black women. We really do. We have to get better with that. But then a lot of it, again, like I said, it goes back to, if you can't compliment yourself, you definitely can't compliment somebody else.
Yes, if you don't love, it starts with you. Brian McKnight used to sing a song. It starts with one. It starts with one. It starts with one. One is you. It starts with you. If you don't fix you, if you don't deal with you and that destructive self-talk, those destructive beliefs and values that you have formed in your life, self-care is not gonna happen. Because self-care is mental. Yeah, you can do the outside things, but self-care starts in your mentality, in your psyche. It starts here. If your thoughts, your beliefs are all unfounded, because I say this, and when unfounded, because I can hear people say, oh, well, this is my truth. We say, well, this is my truth. Well, I've learned this when it comes to beliefs, when it comes to um, forming um, thoughts and past experiences. What we deem as our truth may really be a lie. So sometimes, just because you believe it and it's your truth, it may not be the truth, because you have not taken the time, like Melody said, strip naked and analyze every aspect of your thoughts, your life, your body. Because just because you believe it to be true may not be, it may not be the truth. It's just a truth. And so often we live our lives behind a truth and not the truth, because of the hurt, the pain, the shame, the rejection, the abandonment, the negative thoughts that we, and our mindsets, and our how we have accumulated different beliefs about certain things, and we form that as a part of who we are, and we live our lives out of a truth, but it's not the truth, because we've not used positive self-talk and strip down so that we can speak the truth from the perspective of a holistic place.
And I just want to share this too. When you look at self-esteem, self-esteem is just that. Self is what you're imposing on yourself. There may be an outside factor, but you're imposing it on yourself. And then the crazy thing about it, what you're imposing on yourself is affecting what you're putting out. You're not only affecting your relationship with yourself, you can be affecting your relationship with your children, with your partner, or whatnot. Because if your self esteem is low, it's going to come out when it comes to a partner,
Yes.
your husband or whatnot. It's going to come out some type of way, and it can affect that relationship as well. If you're not happy with your body, it's going to affect it, because you'll never feel like you're good enough, and your partner's standing there trying to tell you you are good enough. I like this. I'm okay with this. I chose you. So those can be detrimental. If your self-esteem is really low and you're not dealing with it, what are you going to teach your children? So what we do to ourselves affects everyone around us. So that's why it's so important that we deal with self, because with that is what we're sharing, what we're teaching, because we teach our children.
Mm-hmm.
What we're teaching our children, and we don't want them to learn that, you know, those different things about themselves. But the self-esteem, we've got to deal with what is in that mirror. And when you walk away from that mirror, while you're standing in that mirror, you actually need to really be fully in that moment, because you may end up laughing, you may end up crying, because it's more than just how you look. You're going to discover and probably dig up some stuff from your past that caused you, just from your body, to say, you know, I don't like this because such and such constantly did this to me. Or you may say, you know what, I don't like this because somebody touched me inappropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of things that come with it. So to actually start the healing process, you gotta own what it is so you'll know where to start.
Yes. Yes. I would love for you to repeat that, please. Yes. Repeat that.
I mean, when with the self esteem and self care, you got to know where to start, because if you never get naked in that moment and deal with those things that maybe come that need to come up. Let me say that, not may come up, but need to come up, because you buried them so deep down in there that you just functioning with it. It's become your partner. You're comfortable with it. You don't have a problem with it because you've never dealt with it. You've
Mm-hmm.
never addressed it. But if you don't ever do that, you can't give proper love. And then you don't even know how to take care of yourself. Because if it's something that was verbally said to you when you were an adult, or even when you were a teenager or a child, you got to know how to address it. Okay, I got to get past those things that were said to me when I was a child or teenager, or the things that even as an adult. So this is where I need to start. Let me find out how I need to get past this. But if you don't never address it, you know, all I can think about is Erica Badu's song Bag Lady. You got all these different bags in your mind till it's hard for anybody to move all those bags. Some of us walking around with designer bags in our mind. And that's true. Some walk around with the paper bags. Some walk around with Ziploc, but everything is in a different bag. And you got to get those bags, start clearing those bags out to really be enjoying life, because you're missing out on some things that have been planted in you that should have never even actually been planted in you.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And as it relates to self care, our time is almost up, you guys. But let's talk about self care a little bit, because again, we have got this misconception about self care. We've talked about self talk, changing that destructive thought pattern, and having a more positive, get naked psychologically, get naked emotionally, get naked physically, and having those real conversations with yourself and dealing with those past traumas and past bad experiences that you dealt with. But let's talk about self care for these last few minutes that we have, because we don't want you to think, oh, a lot of people, because they live on this false 100 reality, they think self care is going on vacation, say, vacation, uh, with your boo, or uh, going to the spa. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. It's going to get your nails done, going to buy your new outfit. going to buy some jewelry. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're doing that to cover up and you never dealt with your emotions, you never dealt with those that baggage, as Melody said, your self-care is not going to be self-care. It's going to be a mask that you're doing, pretending that you're taking care of yourself. Because like Melody said earlier, if you go and take a bubble bath and you're not dealing with your issues, you're going to go in dirty and you're going to come out clean, but you're still going to have a mess in your mind. So you have to, self-care is not just a physical thing, it's more of a emotional and psychological aspect of self-care. Because if your mind and your thoughts are conducive to the life that you want to live, that's healthy, that's positive, then when you go buy a bag, then when you go take a shower, then when you go get your nails, it's on a different level because you have clarity. So whatever's been going on in your life, you're not just going to do these things just to cover up. You're doing it for a tool of relaxation because you've already relaxed in your mind.
And I hope I can get this in real fast. But let me say this, and this is I share this with with friends and clients. Some of the things that we think are corny are not actually corny. Now, self-care can be simple as learning to just say no to some people that you need to say no to. Self-care can be as simple as, you know what, no, you don't deserve to be in my space. That's self-care. If you gonna take that long bubble bath, take that long bubble bath. Sometimes you do, when you get in that tub, think about what you need an answer for. What do you need relief for? What is it that you need to escape? And I always say, once you're soaking, maybe sometimes you just need to be still, because that may be a time where God may need to reveal some stuff to you, how to handle this. This is your next move. Because a lot of us, we're not still during the day because we're constantly moving. Our mind is flooded with things. So as you take those long showers or you take those long bubble baths, get still. And when you get out, I guarantee if you got a journal, you're going to have something to write in that journal that's going to reflect what you had a problem with when you took that, before you took that long shower or that tub. Make note of it so you can reflect back to it. Show some gratitude. Each day we should be writing something that shows gratitude. What are we thankful for? Because we have so many things to be thankful for, and we don't take the time to stop and celebrate what we're thankful for.
Yes.
We've gotten so busy with the hustle and bustle of it. And then sometimes you're showing gratitude is simply get somebody a hug and tell them you love them.
Right.
And not expect them to tell you that they love them. Just give it to them, because you don't know what you're doing for that person that you're giving that hug for, and it takes something off of you as well when you're expressing that emotion. Also, I had a friend and she talked about this, and it's a wonderful idea. Get a book, write down, think of some of the happiest times in your life, some of the things that made you happy. Now, I'm one of those girls, I love honey buns. My granddaddy got me hooked on honey buns. Not just any type of honey bun, but there's a special type of honey bun that I like. So when I can find those honey buns, I am just like a kid in a candy factory. My toes will get to wiggling, and I'm just as happy, and I'm a humming and whatnot. That's a happy moment for me. Write those things down in a book so when you are feeling low or when you're questioning some things, pull out your big black book and go back and look at the things that made you happy. Your happiest moment could be getting a new job, watching your child take their first. Go back and look at that stuff, and you cannot tell me that you won't have a different outlook after you've reflected back. So
Yeah.
those are the type of things we do. Don't think they're corny, but those are some things that actually can save you in some of those moments. If you just remember, and I used to say this to my coworkers all the time when things weren't looking good. I said, you know what? After a while, you're gonna be able to look back at this and you're gonna laugh at it. Because you're gonna be able to laugh at, why was I thinking that was the end? Why was I thinking that wasn't gonna work? But you made it through. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's good to remember, the good things, and on when you're dealing with some stuff. We're all talking about COVID and stuff right now. We can't do this. But reflect back on the times when you were able to go on vacation like you wanted to, able to spend that time with that loved one. Reflect back on when the family got together and they had big gatherings and stuff. You have to go back and be able to think back on good times. All of that is self care. Handle it. If you got to say, no, I can't come to the party. No, I can't spend that self care, because you're putting yourself first. So many times we don't put ourselves first because we're scared to say no.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, guess what, guys? Our time is up. This has been a an awesome show. And I think this is much needed. I think we need to continue this conversation related around these topics, because these are things that we just don't talk about. Colorism, self-talk. Because we've been taught if you talk to yourself, you're crazy. But you talk to yourself anyway. You have conversations with yourself anyway. So are you really crazy? And those are that's that self-talk. We've been taught you don't talk to yourself. You do it anyway. You know you're not crazy.
Mhm.
You know you're not crazy. Talk to yourself. It's just what you're saying to yourself. Make sure whatever you're saying, you are empowering yourself. You are educating yourself. You are inspiring yourself. You are pushing yourself to the next level of success in every area of your life, starting with yourself. Starting with yourself. Starting with yourself, 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 and yourself. I always say you roll with three people: me, myself, and I. Until next Tuesday, you guys. We thank you guys for listening. We thank you guys for your questions. Make sure you like and share. Go to my page, Tara. You can find me at Let's Talk Tara. Like my page. You can find Melody at Inspired by Melody. Like her page. Like our Instagram page. Thank you guys for listening, tuning in. If you need any coaching, counseling services, you can reach out to me, or you can reach out to Melody on either one of our pages, and we are here to help you. Listen, until next time, our conversations are really real, raw, and relevant. We love you guys. Stay safe.